With me now, Boaz Bismuth from the newspaper Israel Today. You're very welcome to the programme. First of all, how wide do you think the crack in American-Israeli relations might grow because of the Iranian deal?
First of all, let's admit, we do have a crisis. This is totally normal. We speak about allies, about good friends. And I think that Jerusalem is very disappointed by the way America conducted the negotiations with the Iranians. That's not secret. Israel was always fighting against that deal. I remember when those negotiations started in 2003 in France, America wasn't even there. When they were renewed by the Obama administration in Geneva, October 2009, one could understand in Jerusalem that the Americans were very keen to have a deal. And for the Israelis, that is the worst deal that one could get, and they could have had a much better one. And that is why they have decided to fight it. Because also, don't forget, they have the tools, and the tools, of course, or the tool is the Congress. And that is something that embarrasses a lot the Obama's administration. And that is a cause, of course, for a crisis.
Nevertheless, a deal is on the table. If Israel doesn't want a deal to happen, what's its solution then?
Very good question. What do you do now? That is a big problem. Let's try to imagine, and that is why the Israeli friends, in America, tell them, let's try to imagine that, okay, you succeed in preventing the deal or making the Congress not accepting the deal. And by the way, you should know that it's also, you need steps. First of all, Congress will say after 60 days, we'll look after the deal. After 60 days, if they are oppose the deal, then Obama's administration have a veto, and then you need 67 congressmen to oppose the deal in order to make it, of course, something unacceptable. What do you do next? Will the Europeans follow? Will the Russians follow? Will the Chinese? So that is, of course, a problem. Yet at the same time, let's listen to what Jerusalem says. They think that for Israel, it is, how would I say, it is a mission. It is like in French you would say a devoir. It's a must of the government, of course, to fight a bad deal. And why? Because when you look at the deal, you do see that in, let's say, 13, 14, 15 years, Iran will be treated by the international community as a normal state. It will be like Belgium, like Canada, like Japan, and it could have, its nuclear bomb very easily at that time. Another thing, of course, if you remember the aspiration one had at the beginning of negotiations, I speak about 2003, no one would think that Iran would enrich uranium. No one would think also that Iran will be able to keep all the places, they built secretly and discreetly. And another thing that also drives the Israelis, let's be very blunt, drives them crazy, is the fact that you can be a state promoting terrorism, you can be the Islamic Republic of Iran causing terror and chaos also in Lebanon, in Yemen today, and be accepted by international community and being treated like a normal state. That is something that Israel can't accept.
Just briefly, finally, there are reports that the US could release well-known Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard after 30 years in prison. Would that cut any sway with Israel, do you think?
Yeah, well, the linkage was made, of course. It was the headlines, of course, in Israel on Sunday. As you know, in Israel, we don't have newspapers on Saturday. The news came out first by the Wall Street Journal on Friday. And, of course, the connection was made by, it would be like a sweet, if you want, given to Israel after the deal. Of course, for the Israelis, there's no connection whatsoever. Let's not forget another thing. On the 21st of November of this year, in the coming weeks, Jonathan Pollard will be incarcerated for 3 decades, for 30 years, meaning he had paid his price. He did spy. He gave information that he shouldn't have to Israel. 30 years in jail. It's about time he leaves jail. And for Israel, that is not a present that the Americans are giving them or Jonathan Pollard. That is something totally normal. I think that for Israel, no, how would I say, no, you can't sweeten in any matter, in any way, the Iranian deal. I do believe that until Congress will say its word, you will see this American-Israeli clash continue. But let's also remind, and let's look backwards in history and just remind one thing. In 1948, America didn't want Israel to declare, President Truman, Israel to declare at that time independence. Jerusalem as a capital. Strike the nuclear plant in Iraq in 1991. It was during the Reagan time. Ramat Golan. I can mention so many places, in history where Washington and Tel Aviv or Jerusalem did not see things in the same way. So here, we're again in the same event again is happening.
Okay, Boaz Bismuth from the Israel Today newspaper. Very interesting to get your thoughts this hour. Thanks for joining us. Now, Jonathan Pollard worked as an intelligence analyst. He was jailed in 1987 after pleading guilty to handing Israel more than 800 top secret documents and 1,500 intelligence messages. Pollard is the only American citizen to be given a life sentence for spying on an ally country. Israel insists that Pollard has already paid enough for his guilt, as he never leaked any documents relating to U.S. security. Thanks to Pollard's espionage, Tel Aviv received data on Iraqi and Syrian chemical warfare, Soviet arms shipments to Arab states, details of Pakistan's nuclear program, and the communication lines of Middle East and North African countries. A former U.S. Naval Intelligence Director thinks Pollard's leaks are exceeded only by Edward Snowden. Top U.S. military officials have, on several occasions, rejected calls to free Pollard. This year, though, he gets the right to a parole hearing, 30 years after he was arrested. Robert Naiman says it's unfair to compare Pollard to Snowden.
Edward Snowden's not a spy. He didn't sell secrets, which Pollard did, to a foreign government. He's not a spy. He is a whistleblower. Now, you could say that he broke the law, and he faced justice, blah, 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 but he's not a spy. A spy is somebody who gives secrets to a foreign government. Edward Snowden gave secrets to the news media.
A convention aimed at highlighting frequent cases of police brutality has seen firsthand what officers are capable of. Participants at the event were pepper sprayed as they tried to prevent the arrest of a teenager. We'll have more on that story very shortly.